meeting here. Oh, yeah, I just had a meeting. I don't like my hands. I don't. All right. So, we're finally having a banquet. I want to thank everybody for their patience. I know there were lots of emails going back and forth, and Melanie did a wonderful job. She was visiting places, she was calling places, and finally we settled on the library, which was great. I like this. This is really nice. It's kind of small up here, but it'll work. So we're very thankful for Carl and Melody for pulling everything together and getting the banquet together, and everybody that chipped in. There were tons of people, tons of reinforcements that came. I don't know, I can't mention all of you because there were just so many of you, but thank you all for coming and chipping in and helping with that. Okay, I have a lot of thank yous that I want to get out of the way really quickly. First off, I appreciate all of you. I have emailed, I have talked to y'all. You were very patient. I had lots of questions instead of emailing, and you were great. You were supportive. You got your runners, your athletes to practices, or you got gas money for those that had to drive themselves to practice, or they paid for their gas money. So thank you all. For those parents that came and volunteered, they were field event people. They were people volunteering in long jump and shot put and high jump and what did I miss? Javelin. There were timers. I do not like to time, but there were lots of timers that stepped forward. So that was really helpful. Meet coordinators, all those people that came to make sure you all had your bibs, make sure you were getting where you were supposed to be, making sure you were on time, or if there were lots of delays, which there were, making sure you knew those delays. So thank you for the meet coordinators. The people that were here for the time trials, I don't know if you runners noticed, but parents came out, moms came out. There was one, our first time trial was rainy and it was cold, and we had, and Mrs. come out in the freezing cold rain, and they were there taking times. So I'm very thankful for y'all coming out and doing that, because most of us would not want to be doing that. I don't know if Jack is here, but I have to thank Jack, because there was a couple times he gave me a couple pep talks. So whoever can pass that on, Maura Mom, pass that on. Jack gave me a lot of pep talks, so thank you. There were also a lot of behind-the-scenes parents that there were a lot of times I needed just to get some feedback, and I texted you or I emailed you, and y'all helped me so much, and you don't want the acknowledgement, so I'm not going to call out each of your names, but I appreciate you. So you were the behind-the-scenes parents. Photographers, thank you very much for catching those snapshots. It's funny because I know in my house, the day after a race, or even the day of the race, everybody's like, did the pictures come in? I'm like, I don't know. Did they go up? Because I'm excited, but I'm the one that's downloading some of those pictures. And it takes a long time to do that, because I remember would say, oh, I have to crop things, I have to Photoshop, I got to do different things, I got to make sure that people look okay. So if you didn't like a picture that went on, I apologize, because I was the one that probably put it on. And then our board, I think it was a year and a half that we have not had a board set up, and that was one of the first people approached us and said, hey, we need to make sure that we've got our board together. And our board has been organized. If y'all want to stand up, you don't have to, but if you want to, you can. But I'm very thankful for you, because there was lots of questions we had. We were bouncing ideas off, and you were a big support to me. And you all don't realize how much they do and that they are going to be doing in the future. David and Nicholas, I thank you for getting the slideshow ready. We were in a practice like kind of middle of the season, and maybe it was more towards the end, and I said, hey, does anybody want to do the slideshow? Because we need somebody to do the slideshow. People nominated and were pointing at one person, but that person was like, nope, I don't want that. So it was like a day later, emailed and said, hey, I think David and Nicholas want to do this. And so I'm excited, because that's one of my favorite things about the banquet. Let's see, who else? Family. David, if y'all don't know them, y'all have to get to know them. They met with me at the beginning of the season, and they have been with this team since the start. And they know so much about the team, they know the history, and at some point, all of us need to hear it, because we know that this team is special, but it wasn't easy to start this team. They fought, and they got us to have this team right now. So we need to hear that story, but they are a very great couple, and they have really helped me this season, so thank you. Coaches, my dream team, and Coach Mia, they were fantastic. I thought it was great this year that we had a coach dedicated to sprinters, a coach dedicated to distance runners, and a coach dedicated to field runs. I think y'all did so much better because there was a focus on you. Instead of being spread out, y'all could go to your areas and just go full force into what you were training for. And of course, the team, we put these workouts together, but we can't do those workouts for you. Y'all are doing those workouts. You're the ones that if we say go do 5 strides, 8 strides, guess who's doing it? We're not doing that. We're sitting there going, yeah, go. But y'all are the ones that are busting it out and going and getting intense with your strides. So I thank you, and I thank y'all for your patience. I know at the beginning of the season, and I had some different things that we were trying, and some of y'all looked at us like, what? But we did it, you tried it. Some of the things were good, some of the things we decided weren't gonna work, but I thank you for that. And y'all were a great team. Okay, so those are my thank yous. If I forgot somebody, I'm so sorry. I really appreciate everybody. So this season was a little different. And one of looking back on it, I think the biggest word for me to look at the season was flexibility. We had to be flexible. Everybody had to be flexible. I don't know how many times I'd come to a meet and then everything would change. Or, I wrote them down because lots of meets changed. Schedules were shifted, the meets were combined. And that was the marathon of meets. I don't know, that was just, it was a long day. And again, the meet coordinators that kind of filled in and staggered, that was great grace for y'all because y'all were very valuable. Heat sheets changed, JV counties. Some of y'all don't know this, but I had put everything in, and at midnight I had this weird feeling, so I went back and checked, and even in the race, and I'm like, I have him on my list. It shows it on the computer, but he wasn't in the race. And then Grace, she is our long jump and 100-meter runner, and all of a sudden they put her in the 100-meter hurdles. And I had to borrow money from her that day. I'm like, I gotta get you in the race. Can I borrow $5? And so I paid her back. I did pay you back. Or I gave somebody that money. So if not, then ask your family. Okay. So it was a lot of flexibility. And then even our relay teams, our 4x4 girls, 4x4 boys, and our 4x2 team, we were there to break records. And I showed up for the coaches meeting, and there were 2 other teams there. Do you know where anybody is? Because there's nobody here. It's sunshine. For whatever reason, that got canceled. So a lot of it was flexibility. And then we showed up to had no schedule. That was the other thing. We had no schedule. Everybody was coming up. Well, do you know when it's going to start? I have no idea when it's going to start. Do you know what events? But I don't know. So it was all about flexibility this year. So I thank you for just kind of going with the flow and just rolling on. There was a little blood, there was a lot of sweat, and there was even some tears at races and even at some practices, but we moved on from that. There was a lot of our older runners that I really appreciate because we have a lot of middle school kids, lots of little cougars that kind of moved up, and some new people. And so when you're coming out to a huge team, I mean, we had 60 runners, or 60 athletes, and when you're coming to a huge team and you don't know anybody, or you might know 2 or 3 people, it's really intimidating. But y'all opened your arms, you welcomed them in, and that meant a lot. And I know the captains do a good job of trying to make, to kind of make pave those ways. But y'all just kind of took them under your wing. And let's see. I mean, there were even times when we just tried a lot of new things. I know Coach had some great ideas, and we tried some things, and it was great. It was great to try new things. And some of our runners, even though they may have run before, I put them in a 4x4 and they came up to me at practice the day before a race and said, what's a 4x4? And so it got a little nervous, but they pulled their weight and he did a fantastic job, and that he ran that several times after that. Okay, so the fun stuff. Y'all want the awards. There's one more thank you, I'm sorry. We had a runner that struggled the end of cross country with an injury, and she was hoping to come back for track. And unfortunately, she couldn't. And we had injuries in our house, and it's hard because that's what you want to do, and it gets frustrating. And sometimes you just don't want to even go to practice because you're right there and you're seeing everybody. It gets frustrating. But this young lady, she repeatedly was coming to practices, and that time trial that was rainy and cold, there she was, all chipper. Hey, coach, what can I do to help? And immediately, Coach Benjamin and I were like, we need to do something. She needs a job because she is here when she doesn't have to be here. She wants to be here. She's willing to help. She's jumping in wherever we need help. I mean, she was doing anything and everything to help us. So we decided to have a team manager. And some of you may not have known that we had a technical team manager, but we had a team manager. I came up with a little job description, and there were some things on there, and she followed through with all of those, and that list kind of grew. It kept growing. She kept adding things, and we kept adding things, and she was a huge help, and we are super grateful for her. And Miranda, would you come up here? Okay, and I forgot to tell you this. After all your awards, you stay up here because we're doing pictures this year. All right, so getting to our letters. Just so parents know, okay, when you run track, if you letter, you have to hit a certain time. If you hit that lettering time, and it's your first time, you get a letter, and you get a little winged track shoe. And then after that, if you letter, then you get a star. So some of you may be getting this, and parents may be thinking, well, why didn't my daughter get a pin, or why didn't my daughter get a letter? That's why. They probably already have a letter. All right, so I'm going to start with the distancing, and then we'll follow through with sprinters, and then we'll do field events. Okay, and again, when you come up here, stay up here because we'll do pictures. So don't run off. Okay, so this first person, she was a very determined and driven runner. She always had goals set out for herself and a plan of attack, and she hit each one of them. Her fastest time in the 1600 meter was 5:42, cutting 35 seconds off of her time. She also was our strong first leg of our 4x4 girls team. Ellery. Our next girl is, she is a very dedicated athlete. She is always putting in the extra work. She does several events, and one of them, it was a new sport. It was a new field event for us. And she was constantly studying up, looking at YouTube, looking on the internet, just trying to figure out what she can do to get better. But she's always putting in that extra work. It was at a little cougars race. The sprinters would go do kind of their workout, and then she would always come to me and be like, what else can I do? What else can I do? What are you all doing? Let me do some more. She was always wanting to do more. She lettered in the 800 meter with a time of 2:49. That is Naomi. Our next runner, I obviously I'm a coach now, but before I was, you know, a teen mom or a mom. And so whenever I watched this girl run, I always knew, I'm like, oh, she's an 800 meter runner. But it was, I don't know, it wasn't far into our practices, and she came up and she's like, I know I'm an 800 meter runner, but can I do the 1600 meter workout? I thought, well, okay. So she would always come and she would do the 1600 meter workout. It took us a while, but we decided that she should run the mile, or run the 1600 meter at. She immediately lettered. She ran her first 1600 meter and she lettered. Her best time this year was 5:57. She also lettered in the 800 meter at her first race. Her PR for her 800 meter was 2:44. Emma. This athlete, she lettered out of the gate her first meet in the 800 meter with a time of 2:44. She then transitioned to the 400 meter sprint, so I no longer got to work with her as much as I would have liked. But in the 400 meter, she kept driving her times down. We missed her in the distance workouts, but her enthusiasm and happiness spread throughout the whole team. Caroline? By far our most competitive female athlete, this young lady lettered in the 800 meter with a strong finish at counties with a time of 2:30, placing second. She also hit a lettering time for the 400 meter, finishing her high school career with a time of 1:02.02, placing third at counties. And for fun, she decided, hey, let me try a 200 meter. And she lettered for that as well with a time of 28.7 seconds. More. This next athlete is such a devoted person and runner. She worked so hard. She came from a long distance, but she still decided to run with us. And so one of the trade-offs was if she didn't come on Monday, that she was going to do her practices, and she did, and you could tell she did because she decreased her time every race and knocked 43 seconds off of her 1600 meter time at the end of the season. Samantha. That is all of our girls that lettered this year for distance.
Okay, good to see y'all, good to see y'all. All right, I was blessed to work with the cupcake sprinters, and the shot put and the discus. It was truly, thank the Lord, it was a blessing to work with all of them. They worked so hard. Just grateful, just very grateful for them. Even those who may not letter tonight, I'm very grateful for every last one of them, and I just thank the Lord for the opportunity to be here and to work with them. All right, I'm gonna call you up. Okay. All right, I'm gonna call you up now. It's gonna be a little different. It's gonna go a little quicker because I love you all, but unlike I don't remember all those stats. So I'm gonna call you, but I still love you though. I still love you. Don't judge me, but I love you all by the grace of the Lord. All right, here we go. So for lettering, like I said, it's going to be in the 100, 200, some in the 400, and some in shot put and in discus. All right, so once I call you up, you keep going. All right, first of all, I'm going to start with Lillian. Miss Lillian. led her in the 100 and in the shot put. All right, next up is Miss Tanya Lee. She led her in the 100 and 200. Next up, Lily. Okay, she led her in the 100. Next up is Sarah. She led her in the 100. Next up is she led in the 100. Excuse me, like Malia. She led in the 100 and the 400. Next up is Miss Polly. Okay, she led her in the 200. Next up is Joshua. Led her in the 100, the 200, the shot put, and the discus. Yeah, not bad for a little cupcake. That's awesome. There you go. All right, next up is Alex. Alex led her in the 100 and 200. Next up is, what do I pronounce the name? Kai. All right, she led her in the 200 and the 400. Old Nicholas. All right, led her in the 200. Old School Nathan. Nathan led her in the 100, the 200, the 400, and the shot put. All right, next up is Mitchell. Led her in the 400. Next up, James. We led her in the 100, the 200, and in the 400. And old Brody. Brody led her in the 100, 200, and the 400. And last is Perry. Letter in the 400.
Coach me is unable to be here tonight, but she would love to be here. And I cannot do an impersonation of Dan. I can try, but I would not be very good. And all you field event people remember, I don't know, I would always say this at track days, and I didn't mean to say it like this, but y'all were my special friends because y'all were special. And I didn't know field events, but I loved watching you do field events. You were fantastic. And you all were trying to teach me. I know one day Lily and Solomon were trying to teach me high jump. They were explaining it to me, and Trey constantly was trying to explain long jump to me, and I didn't quite ever catch on. I'm sorry. But we do have some people that have lettered, and you have to give me a minute because I'm going to go and kind of look at where you have lettered. Isabella lettered in the long jump at with 10 feet, 10 and a half feet. She was a little bigger. She was one of our long time ago. Let's see. This athlete, I'm sorry, I'm referencing that. I know this young lady actually before running had even started, and she's like a fantastic volleyball player, and she also plays basketball, and she's good at basketball, and it's like anything that she tries to do, she's just talented and can do it all. And this was the first time she ever did long jump, and she jumped 14 feet. Rebecca. She's she's also one of those hurdler people. Those hurdler people, which is fantastic. It's really, it's amazing. I think I admire the people that do hurdles because I hold my breath the whole entire time. 400 meters is already hard enough, but now you got to jump 10 times? 10 times. So that's the next athlete is, I'm looking for her. I know let's see. All right, so she has been a long jumper for a while. She actually lettered the first long jump. She had been actually doing another sport prior to coming to track, and so we were so thankful that she was able to kind of merge right into track season. And the first time out, I mean, she may have practiced once before that, and she lettered the first time she went out there. And she actually also broke her team record with 14 feet 6 inches. I'm sorry, Maria. I'm not sure this gentleman is here, but this young man, he's run before, and he was really excited this year because we had people devoted for field events. I mean, we did have Mia, but then we also had, it was really nice. He was able to try out multiple field events, and he did really well. And he lettered in the long jump. Sorry, this is girls, I need boys. He lettered with 13 feet 9 inches. Elijah. And our last lettering for the field event belongs to a young man who taught me much about long jumping. He actually also lettered the first event, or first race we had. I always say distance. I always say times, and I always forget distance. He lettered for distance, the first out at 16 feet 6 inches, but he also broke the record later, but we'll talk about that later. Trey. And those are our field event letterers.